Today we're going to discuss how Big Pharma and Big Food actually buy social media influencers. What if the people that you really trust online for health information were not actually giving you their independent opinion? What if I were to tell you that their opinions were really shaped by certain corporations? Big Pharma, Big Food. This includes what you eat, what health information they share with you, how they tell you to get healthy, or even how they invalidate or discredit other health influencers. What I'm about to share with you is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented, hardcore facts, and it's happening all over the place. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a hidden secret between Big Pharma, Big Food, other corporations, and health influencers. So let's take a look behind the curtain because it's going to blow you away. It actually shocked me when I found out about this. You actually can rent a social media influencer, one post at a time. Apparently everyone has their own price. And with the new corporate marketing, influencers can make a tremendous amount of money. And one of the big problems that Big Pharma has is trust. Trust has been disintegrating. They have to get the trust from somewhere. They have to borrow it from somewhere. Well, guess where they get it from? Social media influencers. Because they have something that these corporations don't have: credibility. Now, if I just take Big Pharma and ask the question, why are they losing trust? Well, this one website explains a lot, because this site shows the accumulated corruption of Big Pharma. If we take the total penalties of all of Big Pharma since the year 2000, it totals over $126 billion, and over $60 billion penalties were related to patient injury and harm. And you can see the documents right here: 25 million, Johnson & Johnson, not from one offense, but 81 times, okay? And then you have, look at Pfizer, 107 different penalties, totaling $11 billion. And then you look at Merck, 90 violations, over $10 billion. Unfortunately, modern medicine, with the help of Big Pharma, has changed the focus from health to a business. 90% of media on TV is from Big Pharma. Well, guess what? Now, 90% of digital marketing is from Big Pharma as well. If we take a look at how much money influencers are getting on average, it's about $20 to $25 per 1,000 views. But if that influencer has more trust, we can multiply that by 8 to 12 times. So that $20 per 1,000 views now is at $240 per 1,000 views. This is incredible, the amount of money that's involved here. So I had this idea. I typed under ChatGPT, what would Dr. Berg get paid if I did a post on social media? What ChatGPT said was that my credibility is very, very high. People do trust me. I would qualify for the trust multiplier. So if I did one post, 60 to 90 seconds on YouTube, I could literally get $250,000 to $500,000. That's at an average of 500 to 1.5 million views. But if I got more views over time, that could actually go over $1 million for one freaking post. That's crazy. And an Instagram reel that got 500,000 to 1 million impressions, I would get $150,000 to $300,000. TikTok is a little less. You know, if I got 500,000 to 2 million views, I would get $100,000 to $250,000. I mean, this is crazy with the amount of money that's involved in these marketing campaigns that people have no clue. The reason I have trust is because I don't do things like this. And if you've been watching my channel, you see actually what I'm doing. I'm actually helping people. I'm not endorsing drugs or junk food. Now, another hidden connection is Big Pharma does not go directly to an influencer and coordinate this. They work through PR firms. And then within those corporations, they literally have units or teams of people that work with social media people, find them, hire them, train them, craft the messages just how they want them, so it sounds as authentic as possible. Now, legally, through the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they're supposed to disclose this financial payment. But more than 40% of all social media influencers don't disclose that they're being paid. And it's really difficult to find them because it's not in any database unless you are a doctor And then there's a database of how much money that you get paid. But if the FTC finds out you're not disclosing these payments, you could easily get a $50,000 fine. Let me just show you one example. Okay, Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is an osteopath. He puts out reaction videos on different things. He's really pro-medicine, pro-vaccine, anti-MAHA, anti-RFK. But he did this whole video on vaccines, talking to all these anti-vaxxers.
I have never been compensated by a vaccine company to give vaccines.
So right there, Dr. Mike is saying he's not getting paid by a vaccine company. But if you do a search online, it's very easy to find out that Dr. Mike does get money from Big Pharma. Take a look at this disclosure. Dr. Mike got over $1 million from Abbott Labs. Abbott Labs sells certain vaccines. It's a vaccine Big Pharma company. So not only did Dr. Mike get paid by Big Pharma, but he said he didn't get paid. And I didn't see any disclosure on that post. But I'm not an attorney, but he should be telling people how much money he's getting paid by Big Pharma. Another group that's defending certain junk foods is the dietitians. Certain dietitians are actually getting in trouble from the FTC. In November 2023, the FTC sent warning letters to two trade groups, the American Beverage Association and the Canadian Sugar Institute, and 12 registered dietitian nutritionists and other online health influencers, warning them about the lack of adequate disclosures in their Instagram and TikTok posts that they were apparently hired to promote the safety of aspartame or the consumption of sugar-containing products, respectively, FTC said. In a warning letter sent to registered dietitian Mary Ellen Phillips, the FTC said, "You posted dietary advice on Instagram endorsing the safety of aspartame. And it appears that you were paid by the American Beverage Association to make this post." But this is just one of many warning letters that I was reading on their site. And only 60% of influencers are actually disclosing this, with 40% not really letting you know. So it's really hard to determine who's being paid and who's not. I would look at the intention. Is the intention to help move you in the direction of less ultra-processed foods, fewer chemical drugs, or more ultra-processed foods, or more toxic drugs? Coca-Cola will actually rent influencers and have them push the message of obesity is about energy balance and you should just exercise more, to shift the attention off the sugary drinks. One of the organizations that I think is the most corrupt, and this is just my opinion, is the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. This is a group that makes up over 100,000 dietitians. They shape nutrition policy. But if you go to a website called US Right to Know, I'll put the link down below, and read about their investigation on this group, through the Freedom of Information Act, they found 80,000 pages of correspondence between Big Food and that organization. The Academy and its foundation have invested in ultra-processed food and pharmaceutical companies. I mean, talk about a conflict of interest. How can they be independent if they're actually benefiting financially from these companies? Academy leaders have been employed by or consulted for multinational food, pharmaceutical, big ag corporations. And check out where they get funding from. We have Abbott Laboratories, over $800,000. They have the flu vaccine, Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, Hershey's, General Mills. But the most powerful trick that they're using is not necessarily about who they're paying, but how they frame the message. And you'll see this all over the place with influencers. Like, most of their content is just one message over and over and over again. And they will nullify or discredit influencers that are saying seed oils are bad. You know, some of the arguments are, well, seed oils in themselves are not inherently bad, especially if they're not heated. But who buys or uses cold pressed seed oils? Like, no one. I mean, it's like even hard to find them. What, are you going to buy some corn oil and put it on your salad? No, they're used for cooking the majority of the time. Well, even before you buy it, they have to heat it up, right? Which creates all sorts of byproducts. It creates toxicity in the body, but they don't really talk about the aldehydes or the byproducts. They're talking about the oil itself. But the amount of processing they do, solvents, deodorizers, I mean, seed oil has been known to actually create insulin resistance. So when you see an influencer supporting that, suspect that they might be sponsored. Take the American Heart Association, the organization that told us to replace the saturated fats with the unsaturated fats, the seed oils, right? I mean, you talk about conflict of interest and corruption. I mean, when this video is done, just do a search on who funds them. And then you'll see how they defend and protect the junk food industry. And then what about the committee in the dietary guidelines, right? This is the committee that formed the food pyramid. One of the committee members had over 150 different ties to big food, big pharma, or big ag. And there's no transparency. You have to dig to find out these connections. Here we have RFK fighting for transparency, more safety studies, less junk food, and he's being attacked. And the reason why is he's a big threat to industry. I mean, let me ask you, who do you go to get truthful health information? You probably go to some health expert online, but a lot of people are putting more trust in certain health gurus than even their doctor. Why is that? Because it seems like the whole medical profession has been heavily influenced by Big Pharma. And I would say 95% of all doctors would not recommend a low-carb ketogenic diet. Because, for example, the ketogenic diet is considered dangerous. It can create atrial fibrillation. It's all over the news, so it must be true, right? The so-called low-carb study that shows that keto will cause atrial fibrillation was not even a low-carb diet. And the group that had the lowest carbohydrates, which basically is like 44.8% carbohydrates, which is not keto, had slightly more atrial fibrillation. But that's not science, okay? That's not even a low-carb diet. There's another playbook involving myth busting. Probably the majority of myth busting videos, they're sponsored. These videos actually label alternative viewpoints as misinformation or as dangerous. And you see them all over the place, right? Attacking MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, or RFK, or even Dr. Berg's information is misinformation. Of course, they never give you the details, but they just repetitively tell you that over and over and over again. And the other things they'll do, especially with big food, is they'll do this whole moderation campaign. The next generation will learn about health, not from doing their own research, but from sponsored education. And I think the antidote to all this is awareness, being able to connect the dots and really understand who's feeding you true information or who's feeding you propaganda. If you thought this video was interesting, you should check out my next video, which is entitled The 7 Natural Remedies That Big Pharma is Hiding. And I put that up right here. Check it out.